But I would like now to introduce our new board chair, Kara Bryant, who may have a few words. Kara.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us online. 1510 members, student branch, NSU students, whoever else may be here. I highly encourage you to stay involved all year. Later on, we'll be announcing something called Member Value Committee. So if there's something you're interested in continuing your education, your professionalism, going to conferences, we're more than happy to support you. Details are coming. With that, ready?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Karen. Our speaker tonight is Brian Neff. He'll stand up here in just a second. He's a senior consultant for Smart Advantage Incorporated right here in Broward County. For 14 years, Brian has worked with Smart Advantage across a variety of industries with a focus on building value propositions for clients that are based on customer buying priorities. He has a focus on uncovering competitive advantages, conducting and analyzing market research, developing operational accountability, and implementing effective competitive advantage messaging. Each year with more than 25 clients, Brian designs, interprets, and delivers market research results and analyzes hundreds of websites for competitive intelligence and competitive advantage messaging and determines the industry messaging trends. Brian previously worked for 9 years as vice president of the South Florida Manufacturers Association and was the first city manager for the city of Leslie, Michigan. Brian graduated from Vassar College and has a master's degree from the University of Kansas. Tonight, Brian is going to tell us about the emerging role of quality in marketing and sales communication. Join me in welcoming Brian.
It's a very unusual topic, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
For quality. When Phil called me, something had just happened to me. The company I work for mostly works for small to mid-sized businesses, helping them develop content that they use in marketing and sales. And most of our clients are B2B. But just before Phil called me, I saw this. And I found this. This is a clip from a commercial on television that I found. Uber Eats. Anybody ever use Uber Eats? Okay, I got a couple of headlines. All right. Anyway, here's what it really says. In fact, 95% of orders are on time. Well, that's a lot of what we do when we talk to our clients and tell them how to communicate in a B2B environment. I was really surprised to see here I am in a B2C environment doing the same thing. Now, the next commercial right after that, for those of you here in South Florida will be very familiar with Dolphin Carpet and Tile, right? And other than the fact that Jeff Cass likes to roam on about prices and things like that, he came up with a statement that was very similar, but I couldn't actually find an image of that on YouTube, so I went to their website. Now, this is what I saw. This is what I would call their value proposition. All of it quantified. It's literally almost one of the first times I'd seen back-to-back commercials on television giving me quantification reasons why to do business. Any light bulbs going off as to now where the connection is with quality? Well, okay, let's keep going. So I'm going to cover why data is becoming so important. There's a reason, there's something going on. And then when you're talking within an organization, who is responsible for that data? And remember, my context here is often marketing and sales. And then we'll talk a little bit about some of the challenges in data management, data collection that affects that. And then we'll, at the very end, I'll connect that all back to what you guys are all about, and that's your role in quality. Okay, so let's start off. Why data is becoming an integral part of marketing and sales communications. I like to tell this story. 25 years ago, if you were a sales rep, you would go out to a client. They'd probably give you the afternoon and then say, let's go out for drinks afterwards. 15 years ago, they probably gave you an hour meeting. 5 years ago, 10 years ago, maybe a half-hour meeting. Today, You barely get 15 minutes of FaceTime, if any FaceTime at all. And that's the sales process. That's what's happening. Everybody has less time to convince somebody else why they should do business with them. So how do you talk if you've got less time? Yeah, I was telling Kara here that it used to be the sales rep you would hire would be really good at talking. And they'd be chatty and they could almost talk about anything to anybody. Those are almost not the type of people that make the best sales reps in this type of an environment. Also, happening at the same time is if you need to buy something, this just happened today. Phil told you I look at market research. This is market research in the healthcare industry. The healthcare industry, how do you choose a supplier? This is a question we asked. We gave them a set of options. The shocking thing to me is one of the highest rated options that they listed was they do a web search. It's a small industry. People know everybody, don't they? Isn't that, isn't that what we all say about our industries? Yeah, it's a small industry. Still, website. Everything you want to know, it's out there. And I say website, but I'm going to use website as a term that also incorporates social media. So I don't need to say website, social media, etc. And then, the relationship. It's just not as important in today's world. And I think this is a little bit generational as well. The younger generation coming up doesn't necessarily really want to establish that relationship like the older, some of other generations. That's okay. Everybody's got things to do. So they don't give you as much time, and all circles back as we just don't have as much. And then why make a big, strong commitment of change that's going to happen and throw everything out the window and start over? So you communicate with data because that helps tell your story. And the reason you do that is because you just don't have as much time to convince somebody why you. So then I ask the question, who is responsible for data management? Anybody? Hold on. Who is responsible for data management? Anybody throw an idea out there? I like to hear feedback. I like input, participation. Who's responsible for data within your organizations? Okay. Yep. Everyone. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. First off, leadership. Leaders today cannot make core decisions without data. Now, what has historically been the data that leaders have relied upon most is known as KPIs, which stands for? I knew this group of any group would know that. But most KPIs are internally focused. If you're a for-profit industry, it's how much money are we making per widget sort of thing. How much time are we investing per person for this manufacturing process, all those sort of things. But those are not necessarily the sum total of things they should be looking at. Got to have a better understanding of what's going on globally as well. And I don't mean globally like what's going on in Sierra Leone. I mean globally in their industry, buying patterns, show how people make decisions. Okay. But leadership, when they use data, they have to make the kind of decisions that affect their strategy. Can you imagine making a decision, a core strategic decision, without any understanding of your marketplace, your buyers, what's influencing their decisions? And then also, because strategy means you've got to have investment. Any investment you make. And I'll give you an example of an investment not made. You ready for this? Southwest Computer System. That's a huge investment. Guess what they're going to be doing over the next year? Yeah, because if they don't, they're probably not going to be in business in 2 or 3 years. But those are the kind of things you can do. And that's what just see, there you go. Strategy, investment, leadership should be driving a data-driven organization. Is that a phrase most of you ever have heard before? Well, that's where we're going. And it's affecting a lot more than just leadership. It's affecting. Sorry, I'm really upset on time. Marketing. There's another thing going on. Remember I told you about that story about sales? How so much less time is being devoted to that sales interaction these days. And you know what's happening also? Marketing is becoming more important. Marketing is taking over for sales. We learn more about a company and what we need to do and make decisions based on what we get in marketing more than we get in sales anymore these days. And part of the reason why we're getting to that data-driven organization overall is because marketing has always been more about data than sales. Sales has been about the verbosity. Marketing has been about data. As much as they could, what's benefited marketing in the past 10 years is point of sale. Oh my God, there's a wealth of data there. Website analytics. All those things give you data. I now know not only who's visiting our site, I know how long they're staying, I know what they're looking at, and I know what they're considering. And then, I mean, we've all done this. We've all gone to a website, and the next day or next hour, we get a call from that company. Hi, you were on our site. How can I help you? Saw you were interested in these pair of pants. It makes you feel creepy a little bit, doesn't it? But that's the data that's available. And the reason another reason why marketing is gaining in importance is it's shortening the sales cycle. In a lot of B2B environments, the sales cycle in some instances could be a year and a half. It's not so long anymore. You can try to establish relationships that take some time. But these decisions now happen much quicker. So, leadership has a role. Marketing has a role. Oh, and then just about everybody else. That's right. Everybody now. And of course, this is what Sterling is about, right? How do we know you're good? Matter of fact, anybody here participate in Florida Sterling Council? Hand up. Okay. I was many years ago, my very first site visit I went to. It was a middle school. And they didn't quite really understand the Sterling concept, but they were excited because they were improving and they wanted to showcase that, which is good. Toward the end of the site visit, we all got comfortable in asking everyone we met one question. How do you know you're improving? And quite frankly, it was the one question we asked because it stumped everyone. But yes, every organization, every part of your organization now is data managed, data driven, has to have data in order to, if you want to convince somebody to give me more investment, more dollars, more people, more resources, I gotta prove it to you. And of course, quality has always been about data, right? It's always been a core component of the data, of the quality role. And it's sort of like everyone else in the organization is now caught up to what quality is about. If you said to somebody in some organizations, we're doing this because it helps us with data. Oh, okay, fine. if you were to have said, we're doing this because it's going to make us a better quality organization? Huh? Some organizations, they can respond more to the data component than to the quality. Or as I see the term that's emerging everywhere, is data analytics, which to an average sports fan is just dumbfounding. When they tell us why they went for it on 4th down is because data analytics tells us it makes sense. It's sports, every walk of life. As a matter of fact, would it be fair to say data analytics / quality, or quality / data analytics? Is that what a lot of you do? I don't get a lot of head nodding here. No, not quite yet. I think that's a little bit of what quality is at the forefront of. If it's going to thrive, not just survive, but thrive going forward, I think this component is going to be defining a little bit more of what quality means. Challenges. I'm going to tell you, I've worked with a lot of different companies, a lot of different organizations, nonprofits, profit, all that sort of stuff. The number one challenge of data is, what the heck is the definition? Shocking. It seems so simple. And I'll give you an example. Okay, we saw this in the Uber Eats ad right up front. I want somebody here. What's on-time delivery?
We allow 2 days early up to the schedule.
Did everybody understand what that meant? Is that what on-time delivery is? No. What do you mean? What's on-time delivery?
Oh, what it is to me is it's delivered when I want, and the way it's been promised to me.
Well, there's two separate things right there, but that's okay. What's on-time delivery?
Well, the fact is that time delivery is gonna be it's gonna have as many definitions, as many filters you got on your mind. And time delivery can be showing on the door. It can be showing on the workshop.
Okay. So let's go back to Uber Eats. Everybody remember what that commercial said? Okay. What was their on-time delivery rate?
95%.
How do you think Uber Eats?
95%.
I don't know the answer to this. But how do you think Uber Eats determines whether they're on time or not?
It calculates how many of those orders were delivered in the time windows that.
No, that's an interesting phrase you just used. Time windows. Who establishes those time windows?
The supplier, in this case, Uber Eats.
Ah,
Because they
wait
say.
a minute. In other words, the company who's touting their on-time delivery set the standard. Really? Okay, so your pizza will be delivered at your door within 2 hours. What do you think? And it came in an hour and 50 minutes. According to Uber Eats, that's on time. Do you buy it? No. Okay. Huh. And this is what we find out about definitions. Because most of the people who set the definitions also run into their own problems.
Sometimes the definition of the customer has about one time that really is very different.
Truer words were never spoken. But now I'm going to push it. I'm going to ask you for another definition. Here's one that's interesting. Order accuracy. What's order accuracy? Shout out just some ideas.
Exactly what I ordered.
Okay, that's a portion of order accuracy, yes. Okay. I'm going to tell you one that's probably a surprise. Because we've learned in many B2B environments, this component of order accuracy can kill a relationship, a business relationship. Invoice accuracy. If you screw up and you charge me 32 cents per part, and I thought I was paying 28 cents and I get your invoice, how much time am I going to spend fixing this? Who's got those resources? I got to go not just in my purchasing, have them follow up. I've got to follow up with my supply chain people. I got to follow up with my operations people. If this is a continual problem, company after company we have seen have left because of an inaccurate order that encompasses everything. It's not just what I got when I ordered. It's interesting. But how you set those definitions, because I'll tell you, a part of the organization that is as data-driven as any and fights being data-driven as any, and that's finance. Finance, if you tell finance, hey, you screwed things up, I want you to find out how many hours our customers spent fixing your mistake. There will be no part of the organization that will fight that effort more than finance. Quality, if you sent somebody from quality to do that, oh my God, they'd be on the phone with the customer in 30 seconds. Different ethic. Interesting. How you define things is so key. It's the start. And for those in quality, have you ever been responsible for defining something that's going to ultimately be a measure used by the organization? Yeah. I'd rather you guys do it than somebody else. And I'll tell you why. It's because this is an ethical issue. I want to go back. Who was it that said it's what the customer thinks is on time, not what we say is on time? Somebody said that. Okay, yeah, and I said true words never spoken right. What does a customer want as on time? Well, I mean, every industry, everything is different. Okay, I get that. Uber Eats. I have a reasonable expectation that whatever I order has got to be made and then it's got to be delivered. So that's maybe an hour. I'm just randomly making this up because I don't know. I've never used Uber Eats, believe it or not. Reasonable. Maybe an hour. Hey, somebody here nodded that they've used Uber Eats before, right? You? Yeah. What's the normal time that they tell you it will be ready? That's a good thing. Yeah. Okay. So
it could be anywhere from something minutes to an hour.
Okay. All right. Shows you what I know. Uber Eats must be a lot better than I thought. If they're delivering in 20 minutes. Okay. Although I never understood. I lived in an apartment complex for many years, and literally across the street was a Domino's Pizza. I never understood when a Domino's pizza truck pulled up to the apartment complex. Just walk over as fast. Anyway, what do you think sales wants Uber Eats on-time delivery rate to be? So no, you're right, but that wasn't quite what I was asking, and that's probably because I didn't ask it correctly. What do you think sales would want that rate to be relative as opposed to what operations might want that to be? So they could say 100%, exactly. Is that right? Does that feel, that just kind of feels wrong. But that's what I call that an ethical challenge. How you define something can really define your whole organization and its approach to the marketplace. You're setting the standard. Here's something that I don't think enough quality people rely upon. That's voice of the customer. I have seen internal arguments end when the leader stood up in front of a group of people like this. Let's say this is the leadership team of an organization. We are going to go with 20 minutes because that's what our customer said they wanted. And the salesperson will show up. Because we surveyed the customer. And they told us what they want. And you can't argue with that. If you had a salesperson stand up and say, yeah, but the customer's wrong, fire that guy. And your operations people need to understand this as well. Our customers expect this at whatever X, 20 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it is. I'll tell you another place that it happens is we're in the distribution arena. I have a product and I'm selling it to another manufacturer. When do they want it? Well, we can get it to our dock, out of our dock within 24 hours. And this is literally almost every distributor, this is their calling card. When do you think the customer wants it? I don't know.
I don't care.
It's not, yeah.
I'm not something-
I can work it so that I can get you to the dock. Oh yeah, you can work it so that you can know how long it takes from the dock to the customer. Oh, that means you have to work with your trucking logistics people to get that answer. Ooh. But once again, why do you do that? That's what the customer tells you they want. And that's the one thing, as Phil introduced me, he said, I do a lot of market research and I do a lot of analysis. And that's the one thing that companies who have never done research before come to realize this is a key component for how they do business. And I think, personally, this should be something all of you in quality should be asking, if not demanding. We need, before we make a lot of these strategic decisions, before we make all these investments, let's ask our customers what they value most and go in that direction and rely upon them for our decisions. How do you feel about quality now? No, I'm giving you something that I think is going to help your career. I'm serious about that. I'm not just pandering. I think if quality leads that charge, and you know who your biggest probably supporter is going to be within an organization? Yeah, marketing. And that's a relationship that a lot of time, quality and marketing, it's not a strong one usually, but should be, and probably should be. I've kind of given you a little insight into this one already, but let me ask you, because you're the professionals here, under what branch of the organization do you reside now? As quality professionals, we'll start with you. Operations, fair, you?
Usually just quality. Quality is independent.
Oh, okay, interesting. I see you're a consultant, so that's not quite right. Who do you work for? Where does quality reside?
Complicated question. It's kind of like it's independent, but yet where our org is structured, we have VPs and we have business units. So it depends what business unit. It depends, we got different business. So, one answer.
Okay. Jim.
My place to work with politically side in every department of the organization. Not just in quality.
Okay.
In every, sales, customer service, shipping, production.
You may have somebody doing
Even in maintenance.
you may have somebody doing a quality role in customer service, but they may not be called quality. Is that fair? Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Historically, I would say quality's been responsible for processes. We have the right processes in place to get the right kind of things accomplished. That's just, when we look back, quality goes back to, oh, that was a trick question. Quality goes back to where? The little historical, where quality kind of emerged from. Phil? Oh, it goes back even further than that.
Ford,
Yeah, it goes back to mass manufacturing, the beginning of it. Yeah. And it was always about process. T&M. Okay. Not the bad T&M, but what does T&M mean to most of you? Quality professionals. Time and motion studies. Right? Come on. That's quality. That was that was the beginning of the quality movement. Time and motion studies. How we improve, how we get better. That's historical. And that's where quality grew from. And then, you had the Japanese emergence of quality in the 70s, and that became the definition. We even heard the 5S presentation just before here. Very much a Japanese thing. Quality now happens everywhere in the organization, and it's more about outcomes. So, Six Sigma, Lean, these are the tools of quality today. That's going to shift a little bit to understanding what the outcomes are from our data analytics investments. Here's something to consider. Does the word quality even need to be anymore? If every part of the organization is going to be held to a data standard, is there really a need for a quality department? Of course, you could say that about HR too, right? Same kind of thing. Interesting thought here, huh? I'm not standing up here and telling you your jobs are going to disappear. I'm saying your jobs might morph and more than likely explode in numbers. You may be, and this is really an odd takeaway. Quality almost always was hired by operations. Somebody, VP of Ops hired somebody to do the quality. In the future, you may be hired by marketing. I've seen this happen in some organizations. Shocking. It feels shocking, but it makes sense. I hope for the reasons I've laid out and shown you. Because your future skill set may be less about those things that are important to process management, more about data analytics and managing that and leveraging. That's what I see happen.
So many people don't have the background that they need to analyze the basic data for the organization. So that could be also our strength as part if we're not dealing only with data analysts.
Yep. Okay, thank you. Oh, I think that's a good comment. Appreciate that. And you're a student? Give it to the students.
You coming from a service industry standpoint, because I've been in manufacturing forever, and
This ain't happening? This ain't
This is not
describing you?
no.
Yeah, I believe that.
So we're always going to have facts.
No.
We have 9 cities.
Okay.
That's impossible. But
No. And thank you for saying that. I'm not saying this is happening in mass right now, but it's happening.
that's one of my question is what industry?
It
I've
doesn't-
never seen this happen. in
It
manufacturing.
doesn't. Okay.
I have to say it is happening If you were to look for a search of process improvement jobs out there, 80% of them are in technology. It's about technology process improvement. You're not really seeing it in manufacturing, at least here in the US.
Yeah, that's where I'm coming from. So my industry on manufacturing, that's what I was trying to get at. But other industries, like you said, technology or.
And what does your company sell?
aerospace. So we're aerospace.
No, what does it sell in specific?
We sell rockets, we sell. you know,
Okay, so you assemble rockets in your facility?
Correct.
Okay, so you're selling to an end user theoretically?
Yes.
Okay. Here's where I've seen, because this is why I describe myself this way up front. I've historically done a lot of B2B work. And this is where I've seen it happen. That doesn't mean it's not happening in B2C. That's why I cited the Uber Eats, the Dolphin Carpet and Tile, those ads. Because you don't run those ads if you don't have something supporting them. Because you tell me Uber Eats 95% on-time delivery, and everyone's personal experience is they suck. You're not going to believe it, are you? But if you're the 1 out of 20, maybe every now and then, I've ordered a few times, 1 out of 20, it was they didn't meet it. Well, that's 95%. Okay, I see. I understand that now. It's experiential.
What defines quality? What defines data analytics? Because those are nebulous terms at best. You know, I would argue, strictly speaking, data analytics is an analysis of data, purely almost to a mathematical
Construct, yeah.
endpoint, which doesn't mean that the handler, the analyst, knows anything about the implications, context, management implications in particular. So, whereas a quality individual, I think more typically has a fair amount of the data, the analysis background, but then they have the ability to leverage it for an outcome differently. So I envision a quality person be inherently more independent. Now, they may be constrained artificially, but I think they're more inherently independent because I think they have 95% of the data analytics skill set in there, but they also have the customer focus and the process understanding and the tools to elicit change and change management, all these things that enable you to do something. Data analytics by itself is just a math problem.
You know, interesting. And this is just a personal thing. The word I had in here and took out was leverage. It's not just about a math problem. It's leveraging a math problem. That's what quality I see is eventually going to go towards.
I'll probably make the case with my students that, you know, what distinguishes you from people going with data analytics, because it's a very hot field. And I say, well, tell me what a data analyst is going to do with all of their analysis work. They're going to hand it to someone and they're going to say, is this customer satisfaction?
Yeah.
Well, did I do a good job? Well, see, I have no context to know, other than mathematically, that I do a theoretically good job. But does it answer your question? I don't know, because I don't understand the question, the outcomes, constraints, or any of that stuff. It's just a math. It's totally abstract.
This is an aside, but it fits in with what you said. Lots of organizations do customer satisfaction surveys. So when we work with a company, we say, hey, can you send us your customer satisfaction survey and the results? And I'll give you an example of one that I thoroughly hate. Net Promoter Score. And then everybody tries to tell me, our Net Promoter Score is higher than Microsoft. Really? Do you compete with Microsoft? If you did, do you think your Net Promoter Score would be higher than Microsoft? Because that's ultimately what Net Promoter Score is. It isn't you versus a whole bunch of random companies. It's how well you do in your industry. And guess what? Microsoft doesn't have a whole lot of competitors. Their Net Promoter Score could be 10 and it'd still be better than what you could do. Negative 10. It's a meaningless chip. To my estimation, it's a meaningless metric. And it's not one that you can use. On-time delivery. I'm trying to think of one that would be, give me a good metric for the educational industry.
For what?
For your business, for your organization, what's a good data metric? Always, for years, it's been graduation rates, but I contend
No.
that's not necessarily a meaningful measure either.
I would, I mean, personally, I look for the satisfaction of the student when they're completed the program, that they feel like they're headed in the direction that we were able to help them get toward, to facilitate them, whatever they're trying to do. And they're so different. So it's more, it depends on what they want. So we take a generic and a specialized process set, and we try and help everyone in their own little ways, which is challenging.
We had a client that was a business school, all right? We did research. What guides somebody to choose your school versus somebody else?
Oh, the ratings in US.
Oh, those are true. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking when the crap hits the fan, what really makes somebody choose your school versus somebody else? And I can almost guarantee no one here will know the answer. Because you think it's money and it's not.
No, it's combination. It's never a single item. It's like location, rating, financial, perception.
Do you want to know what really guided? And granted, this was somebody who.
What their parents said. Or the
No,
opposite
this is a
of-
business school.
The alumni
So
jobs.
believe it or not, a business school, the student has a little more independence than the undergraduate school. You ready? Can I get an internship? I will consider your school, and they had examples of this. They competed with schools like Columbia. I will go to you if you say I can get an internship, because that's my road to the next path. That's something that school can work on. And that's something, when they got those results, they became the best at the internships in their area, and their area was New York City. That was something we did 10, 12 years ago, and that's still the core of their message as they go out and do this today.
Basically ROI. It's always taking stuff. Like you said, internship is my fast forward. ROI. I invested in this education, what would I get back?
But, and here's a truism. We will all pay more for perceived more value. All of us. Because no one here drives a Hugo. A Hugo, sorry. Gotta get my name correct. If you did, well, maybe price is your real driving factor. I don't buy toothpaste at the dollar store. I have no faith what they put into that darn stuff. All of us in all of our lives. Yeah, we make some decisions based on price. We do. But probably the majority of decisions we make on a daily basis, price is a minimal factor. Find out what those value factors are that people make buying decisions on. And when you learn that, that's the data you start tracking, and then you start leveraging as quality professionals. Yes.
That last statement bring me to think about that data analysis and data-driven type of performance is the outcome of something, but it's not the root cause, which is my personal fight with marketing. Marketing, data-driven, but data-driven because I think that these are the important things to the client based on my average and standard deviation.
Yeah.
But they don't know, they don't have a clue of the behavior that is the root cause for the client or for the customer to take a certain decision. which means that the skill set is not in that analysis. The skill set needed is in behavioral,
Okay,
not in data analysis,
That's-
because that's an outcome.
let's go back to Uber Eats. What do you think really led them to go out with an ad campaign that talked about on-time delivery? I'm sorry, I agree with you. Marketing, if you left to its own volition, would never do that. I got creative people over here. I got beautiful people over here. Even in that commercial I showed you, they used Aaron Donald. So everybody knows who Aaron Donald is? Football player for the Los Angeles Rams. Okay. But that marketing department did its homework. They got the voice of the customer. They found out why somebody would choose to order and use Uber Eats, and that's what they leveraged. They figured out, we've had a client, I'm going to use on-time delivery. We had a client, started out, they found out on-time delivery was an important part for their business, so they started measuring. Their on-time delivery rate was 65%. And this is the best. We said, I think you guys need to improve on that. And this is what they said. It's really funny. Well, that's the best in the industry. What kind of industry is this? But they got the clue, and they did. Within 6 months, they were up to 90%. That's when they went to market. So I'm guessing Uber Eats did their research, and it was probably 6 months ago. They looked at their own data and said, we got it before we could go to market with how good we are, we got to improve. And that's you as quality. Yeah.
Yeah, but, you know, 95 might have been a number that sounded good. Does that have any reality into their actual performance or any of the customers' real interest and needs? It's just, to me, it's just a number that was thrown out for marketing purposes that sounded maybe better than 65, but not too, oh, but we know we can't be up at 98 because that sounds almost perfect. So they settled on 95, and I would argue there could be nothing behind that except smoke.
You could be totally right. I have no idea. I've never used them, so I can't give my
And we don't know their
experience.
standard.
I
Well,
will say,
what
I've never had a late
what
order.
is on time?
I've never had a late order.
So,
Uber Eats. I got two, one of them canceled because they didn't have the proper driver.
I've never had an.
sorry, go ahead.
And to piggyback to what you said earlier, Dr. Kramer, not too much to insist, it's what you said earlier about definition. Data analytics is not the same as data analysis. The purpose of data analytics is for prediction and for prescribing solutions for the organization.
Theoretically, yes.
Yes. So when companies, use analytics, there's a specific goal and a strategy behind it. For
Theoretically,
them to be
yes.
able to understand exactly, no, I understand what you're
No,
saying.
I understand this.
Yeah.
Trust me, if you've ever looked at reams and reams of POS data, you realize not all data is meaningful.
No, definitely. So you have to go again by what you said, is that definition.
Yeah.
What exactly are you evaluating? What is your benchmarking? What exactly are you trying to capture?
Yep.
To be able to get it.
See, now, if I were Uber Eats, I would have a whole page dedicated to on time, and I would define it for the people viewing it.
If I was, I would go to an independent, like a stand, what are some of the places people will say, as cited by such and such was a quality measure. You say we were then evaluated based on independent things, so it doesn't smell like.
Just be careful. Who does the auto industry use in that instance?
JD Power.
Yeah, everyone's won a JD Power award. And after a while, its impact is minimal.
Well,
But I understand your perspective. But once again, I would go back and I would agree with everyone saying here. Define it for me. In order for it to make an impact on me as a consumer, I need to know that the 95 is not just something pulled out of the air. Because if you say, oh, that's on-time delivery based on when you picked it up from the restaurant, that means nothing to me. I'm never going to use you again. We make those decisions too if we don't believe you. Because that gets back to the ethical issues. Which is, it's a quality role. You've got to set the definitions. It's so many. And it's what we see as a really big challenge. Thank you. But you guys haven't been shy in giving me your opinion and asking questions. I mean, does anybody online have something they want to ask?
Yeah, anyone in the room or online have any questions? I've seen some of the comments talking about some of the metrics, like the last one here. Inventory is a huge metric in aerospace. Line item shipped complete. On an earlier, quality is independent of operations and so on. There were some of those. But what you said, Brian, one of the, the definition of on-time delivery reminds me of a company I once evaluated where their definition, while we were on site doing the evaluation, their definition changed. And it went from, this is the honest truth, that they were around 65% on-time delivery. And by the end of the day, they decided their definition was the promise date, but even if the promise date had been modified and changed, they counted that as on-time delivery. So,
God, that's it.
so there's a lot of wiggle room out there with definitions.
All right, well, thank you very much. I hope this was helpful and informative and at least perspective that might be unique to you.